travel, but now retreating.
All right, folks, another day, another dollar. It's going to be a beautiful day. Hopefully that full moon that I showed you earlier, or just after the full moon, is not going to flip everything up, which I don't think it will. I think we'll be okay because we're 3 days after the full moon, or 2 days after the full moon. Typically, it's usually you want it 3 days after the full moon, but we'll see what happens. I don't know if the morning bite's going to be awesome. It could be, but we'll see. We're going to go catch bait now and see what we can do. Now, folks, what we had to do is we're catching bait at the marker. The wind's coming out of the west, so it's coming right in our face right now. But the tide is still going out, so they're kind of counteracting. So what we did is we're keeping the boat in reverse, and we're keeping ourselves right on the edge of that pole right there. And Chad is just dumping bait up in front. I'm throwing actually my lighter net, my 1.3 pounds per foot, because what's happening is those bigger nets are getting down faster, and lately the bait hasn't liked that. So this net sinks slower but sinks farther, and that have added extra line to it. So it allows us to catch bait. It allows that net to go down slower so those bait fish aren't as spooked. And we just loaded one live well in half a bucket, and I'm about to do it again. Now this net's gonna sink slow, but I have the extra line. I can already see the bait in the net. And now I can feel the bait hitting the net. Now I can feel the bait in there. I'm gonna need your help pulling it because I can't get it. Wait until you see this one. That's a net full of bait right there. Jesus Christ. I don't know if I've ever caught. I've caught that much bait before, but. Okay. There's a white bait. You can see how big his eye is. And here's a threadfin. And you can see how small his eye is. He's skinnier on top than the white bait is. And he's got this little threadfin fin on him. That's why they're called threadfins. So know the difference, because these do not live as well in the live well as these do. Again, I was using my 10-foot, 1/4 inch, 1.3 pounds per foot net. As you saw, we caught so much bait that we could barely, both of us could barely get it in the boat. So now it's time to go and fish. But here's what the bait looks like on the bottom. That is all white bait right there. And up in the water column is thread fins. All right, well, we just got to the spot, and he literally just dropped it down. That was on a livey too. We don't even have cut bait ready. I was getting ready to start cutting bait with my bait cutter. Oh, he just came off right at the boat. But I love this thing. We sold a ton of them, and I love it because it can cut bait quick.
Yeah.
Second drop down, second fish on. Wasn't as fast as the first one, but there's a grouper. Okay folks, what we did was we anchored up on top of the ledge past it on the shipping channel, and we came back down and we're seated right on the edge of the channel, a little bit in the deeper water. But what's going to happen is that wind slows down, this boat's going to swing this way. So it's going to swing over these two waypoints in between, and there's a lot of stuff in there, as you can see right here. So as soon as that tide slows down a little bit more, it's going to allow us to swing out there, and if any ships come in, we're not anchored in the channel, we can swing out and get out of the way. God bless America. I had a good fish on, and possibly a shark. I'm pretty sure it was a shark. Came up and ate him. Folks, right now we're in the major feed, or the minor feeding time, and as soon as that bait gets to the bottom, those fish are on it. I just lost a pretty good fish to a shark, I think. And that's what we're getting. Not the biggest one yet, but we've lost a couple of big ones, so we're being patient. We caught a bunch of small ones first, but now that we're in that major or minor, these fish should go off. This tide's starting to slow down a little bit. So as I said in the Friday fishing forecast, the bite should be pretty good in the morning on that minor, and that major is going to be in that really strong outgoing tide. So if you're going to fish inshore, I would definitely fish that tide. Chad and I even talked about possibly going after some redfish. It all depends on when that tide turns. Well, Chad's, I don't know if mine was a shark or not, but Chad's hooked into it too, but we think it's a Goliath because he's staying right on the bottom. And he won't let go of the fish.
Let it go. Let it go. Let it go.
Stupid Goliaths. I knew that the boat was going to swing into the position where I wanted to be eventually, and we have the minor feeding time going on right now, and the bite has been ridiculous. We've lost some big fish to a Goliath. We've had some dolphins hanging around. They haven't messed with us too much, but like I said, I anchored in a position where I knew the boat would eventually swing into the waypoint areas, and that's exactly what it's done. And see, just like that, Chad's hooked up again. Little grouper. Come on, man.
Can't control the size. I can only control if I hook them. Even then, I got no control.
A little better.
Better go.
One thing I talked a lot about is establishing a pattern. And what I mean by that is, like when Chad and I pulled up to this particular spot, we did our typical thing where he threw down a cut bait and I threw down a live bait. and I could not buy a hit on a live bait. So and he was getting fish. So I turned to cut bait and started getting fish. And so I decided after about 15 minutes, I decided to send back down a live bait. And now they're hitting it because we created a feeding frenzy down below. And like, I've already lost my bait, I think. Oh, no, there was a pat. So now they're eating the live bait. So what I recommend to a lot of people that stop by the office and things like that is when you're out there fishing, because people ask me, when should I use cut bait? When should I use live bait? If you have a couple of people on the boat, you definitely want to change it up. You definitely want to have one person use live bait, another person use cut bait, and see which one is performing the best, because that's going to allow you to create a pattern of what those fish want to eat. Once you figure out what they want to eat and how they want it hooked on the jig, that is going to, you want to follow that. You really want to kind of pay attention to that. Lost my bait. I gotta stop talking and start fishing. One of the largest container ships in the world. Let's compare it to the size of your head, Chad. How big is it? Holy Lord. It's hard to believe something that big can float. With all that stuff on it. 17 containers across.
It's 8 down.
Jeez. That's a big, wide boat. Well, another day finished up. The morning bite was actually really good. We hooked a couple of big fish, but the jewfish and the Goliath and the sharks, I think it was Goliath most of the time, if not all the time, but the Goliath in the one spot really gave it to us quite a bit. So it was very frustrating. Caught a lot of fish, just not quality fish. We caught a lot of smaller fish today, and not quite sure what that's about, but fingers crossed we get our trolling motor back next week, so that will help us really kind of broaden our aspect again, because you know, there's only certain spots that you can sit and anchor and be out of the way of the ships and things like that. So again, we want to thank everybody for the support. Thank you for the people that drove by today and said hey, and we always appreciate that. And if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions, just let us know. We'll be more than happy to try to do some filming of what people are looking for and things like that. I had somebody ask me about tarpon. Unfortunately, I had my fair share of tarpon back in the day and don't really want to do it. We saw some tarpon today, but we weren't fishing for them, but we saw them. So anyway, Chad, you got anything to add?
No, beautiful weather.
Yes, it was a beautiful day. There was quite a few boats on the water. It wasn't horrible. I don't think it was as bad as it was last weekend, but you know, there's still not a lot to do. But anyway, again, thanks for the support, and we'll see you on the Friday fishing forecast.
Fish more, catch more.
Hashtag.